Hello and welcome everyone back to the Hold for Hold Pro Wrestling channel. Today we will be discussing the full breadth of the WWE draft results from the 2021 draft. So first of all, it was a pretty good draft. I think that the whole overall shakeup was achieved. There was definitely some shaking up done here, and I'm not talking about Zendaya. But yeah, this was, I don't know. It was a pretty good draft. I felt that SmackDown definitely got some interesting picks that we're definitely going to talk about because, as it looks like, they definitely downgraded in this draft. And I know a lot of people share that sentiment. But you never know. SmackDown's creative is just a little bit better most of the time, and they only have 2 hours to fill, so that's a big difference. But, anyways, before we really discuss the little its and bits of detail here, I want y'all to do me a favor. Make sure give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and follow us wherever you may like. Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Hold for Hold. That's the name of the game. Anyways, enough being a YouTube promoter, influencer, marketer, data analysis, whatever I am. It's time to be a host as we are talking about Monday Night Raw's picks. So we're going to look at every single one here. And I'm going to stop along the way, talk about what I think these picks are going to do, where I want these picks to go. And I will be disappointed, of course, because nothing and nothing I want ever happens, but it's okay. So Monday Night Raw, they started out with WWE Champion Big E. Solid pick here. That's your champion. You should have him on your brand. They did not make the same. They made a mistake doing that a couple times. But anyways, Bianca Belair was the second pick. Interesting pick for sure. And at the time of this pick, I thought they were going to split her and Becky up. So that way, lengthen out the feud. But as we'll see, that's not the case. We had Raw Tag Team Champions RK Bro. Confirmed back to Raw. That's fine. They're eventually going to feud. I mean, they have to, right? It's Randy Orton. Anyways, following that, we have Edge. Edge is on Monday Night Raw. This is a great fit for him. He's done everything he can do on SmackDown. I don't want to see him face Roman again. So for him to face someone like Big E, Damien Priest, anyone else but Roman, right? He couldn't do much else on SmackDown. I think he's going to be a great fit for Raw, and I'd rather see him than Goldberg. So if there's going to be one part-timer on the Raw roster, I hope it's Edge. Anyways, Raw Women's Champions, Raw Women's Tag Champions, Rhea Ripley and Nikki A.S.H. both staying on the red brand. I guess that's just in case they lose the titles. They'll be both still on that brand, which is fine. I think Nikki... Although I kind of wish Nikki did move to SmackDown because I think she kind of needs some fresh opponents. But there is kind of a shakeup in the women's division on Raw, so I think it'll be fine overall. Following that, we have Keith Bearcat Lee, which I'm excited for because he's gonna get a bigger shine here, especially with the names that they brought in. I think he's gonna be a cornerstone of this new version of Raw. We have Rey and Dominic Mysterio both getting drafted together. This one, I know if you watch my predictions video, you know that I wanted Dominic and Rey to break up, but not in the typical Dominic turning on his dad type. I wanted to see Dominic and Rey get split up in the draft and Rey say, this is your chance to shine. You need to prove yourself, and when we come back together, whatever, for the Survivor Series or whenever the brands, align again, I wanted Dom to make his dad proud. Look at what you've accomplished on your own type of deal. And so with this move, I think we're just going to get a lot of the same that's going on SmackDown, the kind of just Dom losing a match, Rey overbearing coach, and then we might see a breakup, a heel turn. I don't know. Not the way I wanted to see it, really. But I want to hold out faith because I think Dominic is getting there as a wrestler. And if it was me, this is my suggestion, I would have Dominic do more singles matches, face opponents like people in the 24/7 division, Akira Tozawa, even Mansoor and Mustafa, although I don't know if they're on here anymore. But yeah, face people that are kind of on an equal level with him, maybe eke out some wins, lose to some of the bigger people that we're going to talk about on this list, like The Miz. Have him lose to someone like The Miz. That'd be fine. but have him eke out little wins here and there. So it like continues his progression as a wrestler, and that's what I would really enjoy to see, is just to see him grow in the ring and eventually like earn the respect of his father. And while you're doing that, have him do some promos talking about how like his first match was with Seth Rollins and how big of a learning curve that was. I think that'd be really good stuff to mine on. And you're the second generation. You are the son of one of the greatest wrestlers, period. So I think you have a lot of good stuff there to dig into. Will they do it? Probably not, but who knows? Anyways, Austin Theory gets called up from NXT onto Monday Night Raw. We've actually already seen him make his debut, and I think it's very promising stuff. This kid is going to be a star no matter what. And just all high hopes for him here. And I'm glad he was drafted out of NXT 2.0. Although I could have saw him as NXT 2.0 champ. He is kind of that mold that they're trying to look for. And I thought he already had the character to, lead the brand. So, I don't know. Good move, though. He debuted against Jeff Hardy. Can't complain there. And then we have the SmackDown Women's Champion, Becky Lynch, drafted to Monday Night Raw. As I just talked about on my Monday Night Raw review, this is getting murky with the women's divisions and the women's championships, especially as they both switch brands. So maybe I'll talk about it when we get to Charlotte, but essentially I don't like it. Bobby Lashley on to Monday Night Raw still. Fine move. I think, he still has stuff to do. Unfortunately, though, he's not going to be in the main event picture, I think, because Big E already has defeated him. So he's going to have to find interesting ways to move out of that division and find stories that, still cater to him. But I think one person that he could have a really good story with is this next draft pick, Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins being on Raw, he has loose ends with Edge to tie up. But once he's tied up those loose ends, I wouldn't mind seeing an Almighty and the Architect face-to-face. I think those would be really fun matches. Don't know what the story would necessarily be, but I kind of trust both of them, especially Rollins has been really creative lately. So, and then also like Lashley could face Edge, and that would be a good match. I don't know. He can go on like an old man beatdown. After Goldberg, he goes after Edge. Who knows? Following that, we have United States Champion Damien Priest. He's staying on Raw. Of course he is. There's still plenty of contenders for him and even more new ones now. AJ and Omos staying on Raw. I really wish they would have broke these two up in the draft, with AJ especially being put on SmackDown because, why not? Kind of think they're done as a group. I don't see them winning any more titles, and I think Omos has kind of not outgrown this position. I guess kind of just it's a stale partnership at this point. There's no one's growing as a performer here. And I think that's the goal of this partnership, is to like help Omos develop. And he just hasn't really developed. Or like I think he's reached a ceiling of developed. I think only, and it's so weird because he can't turn on AJ. If he turned on AJ, it'd feel too rushed. But him being with AJ also feels like it's past its time. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Just how I'm viewing the situation. It's just not interesting for me. I wish they would have broke them up and, I don't know, had maybe Omos turn on AJ right at the breakup, and then Omos go on to like face Lashley because they have unfinished business, and then develop it in that way, or become a hired gun for Lashley in the Hurt business, and then learn more. I don't know. It's a tough one. I guess it's fine for now. We're going to see how this plays out because I really just don't see them doing much else if they're not in the tag division. Anyways, though, Kevin Owens, or you can basically call him Kevin Steen at this point because he's definitely not resigning, is on Monday Night Raw. He's going to do a whole lot of nothing here for the next few months, ladies and gentlemen. But if it were me, I think Kevin Owens versus Big E would be pretty fun. And referencing the time that Kevin Owens kind of took Big E's spot in the New Day for a little bit, I think that could really play into a story there. If nothing else, a one and done B-level pay-per-view match would be fine with me. Street Profits onto Raw. I think this is a good move. I mentioned that they should be moved as a team, and I want to see them kind of do the New Day thing where they're like, all right, bro, we're going to respect your decision, go after singles gold, because Montez Ford could definitely be the guy to take it off of Damien Priest, because Damien Priest has been talking about how he is going to take all these challengers, he's going to learn from all the experiences, and Montez Ford is a perfect underdog for a guy like Damien Priest, who's not necessarily a heel, but now he has so much more experience. He can kind of like run laps around Montez in the singles division and have, Montez build to unthroning him. Of course, they're not going to do that. These guys are going to get in the tag scene with RK Bro, which still is going to be fun. Montez Ford and Randy Orton in the same ring. Can't complain about that. And we're probably going to see a really cool frog splash into an RKO. But past that, I want to see Montez develop already. I want to see him in the main event, or not main event picture, in the United States Championship picture. Any singles division, I really would enjoy him in. But following that, we had Finn Balor drafted onto Raw. There were reports yesterday that Finn Balor was being lobbied for Monday Night Raw to kind of replace Drew McIntyre, take that kind of spot, and I think that's a perfect fit for him to be this babyface that takes on all challengers, gets all the main event matches, puts on stellar performances, and could possibly be the successor to Big E. I wouldn't mind seeing that. You would have to do it right, and honestly, I would kind of want Balor to do not necessarily a heel turn, but a Prince Balor turn, referencing his return NXT type of character, where he kind of just is tired of smiling all the time. He wants to beat up people, and he could win it off Big E. Who knows? At the least, Big E versus Finn Balor is a fun match to have. Then you also have AJ on the same brand, so that could happen. Seth Rollins on the same brand with him. There's a lot of potential for some fun matchups for Finn Balor. But of course, saying that, he's probably going to end up on like the Miz TV island for 6 months. Who knows? I know I'm trying not to be pessimistic. I really am. But like last night's Raw was really not the best showcase for that. And I really hope that it was an accident. Maybe it was just an accident, guys. They're just goofing. They messed up. But anyways, I want to see Finn Balor do great things. One person that I don't want to see at all, that's Karrion Kross. He's staying on Monday Night Raw. Couldn't care less. Another person I don't really care about either, but hopefully maybe she could turn things around. I thought she was doing pretty decent character work with Charlotte Flair. Alexa Bliss is on Raw. Hopefully I know she's like taking time off, or there was reports that she's taking time off. I wouldn't mind seeing her come back and maybe with a new fresh coat of paint. None of this like Lily character stuff, this fiend stuff. Maybe give her kind of like, I don't know, like remember when Matt Hardy was broken, like, and he had that dramatic transformation? Kind of do the opposite, reverse that, and have Alexa Bliss like, I'm normal now, but she's not really. She's still seedy. She's still, I guess it's just Bray Wyatt's I guess it's just Bray Wyatt's the Firefly Funhouse character. So maybe I'm not that original either. But who knows? Just give her something good to do. Someone who probably not have something good to do is Carmella. Carmella's on Raw. She's probably going to take that stupid mask with her, and we're going to see way too much of it, and it's going to be really short matches. I don't have any expectations for Carmella. I think it's fine. Okay. Anyways, though, Gable Steveson, Olympic gold medalist. He was confirmed for Monday Night Raw. I don't know in what capacity this is going to be in. They do have the Alpha Academy on Raw as well. So I guess I just spoiled that pick. Alpha Academy, Gable Steveson, 2 Olympians on Monday Night Raw. Who knows? Could be something. I don't know, but he seems interested. He seems enthusiastic to be there. So, that's the first step. And who knows? This guy could be the next Kurt Angle. Who knows? Akira Tozawa staying on Monday Night Raw. Apollo Crews and Commander Z's making their debut yesterday on Raw. But yeah, they're on Monday Night Raw now. I think Apollo Crews is going to be a great cornerstone to that U.S. title division. And I can even see him picking back up with Big E. And wouldn't that be cool? Apollo Crews in a world title feud. That'd be pretty cool if you ask me. Doudrop is staying on Monday Night Raw, aka Piper Nivens, which I really just hope they change her name back now that she's now with Eva. That's like the bar. That's the least they can do, is just change her name back. Drake Maverick staying on Raw. John Morrison staying on Raw was a little surprising. I really thought they would have split him and The Miz up, but I guess they do need to have their blow off, so we'll see. And John Morrison's a great match. Throw him in there with that U.S. title division. He's going to do great. Nia Jax staying on Raw, which her and Shayna Baszler, they needed to tie that up, and I don't think they'll have the chance to, but we'll see maybe in the next couple weeks. 24/7 champion Reggie is staying on Raw. Kind of a waste of a draft pick, if you ask me. R-Truth staying on Raw. And T-Bar and Mace are broken up. What's his name? Dominic Dijakovic. Dominic Dijakovic. Whatever his real name is, other than T-Bar. Maybe if they actually, let him use his real name, I would know it better. But yeah, he is on Raw. I think he needs to ditch that retribution crap and just get back to being a good wrestler. And we could see him mixing it up with Big E, or picking up his feud with Keith Lee. If you want to get two men over, guaranteed recipe right there, put them against each other. Keith Lee and Dominic Dijakovic. I'll say his name right one day. Put them together, you have a guaranteed way to get both men over again. Following that, we have Zelina Vega moving over to Raw. It just makes sense. She has red highlights. Dana Brooke also on Raw. That's fine. Hope she gets a better shine than she did this week where she got her arm broken. The Dirty Dogs, surprisingly, on Raw. I rooted for them to break up, but after last night with their segment with Big E and Big D, I actually was quite fond of the Dirty Dogs, and I wouldn't mind seeing them have a run at the WWE Raw Tag Team Champions, Matt Riddle and Randy Orton. I don't know why I said all that, but you know what I mean. I would like to see them be a bigger hand in the tag division. I think they're a fun tag team, and if you get them, and especially last night with their promo skills, I was like, these two actually mesh really well with RK Bro. Like, they can match the silliness of the whole vibe. So I'm rooting for them. Hope they get another title shot. Hope this leads to something better for Bobby Roode, especially because I really love Bobby Roode. From there, Jaxson Ryker is on Raw. This is another breakup. Jinder Mahal's Veer has broken up from the group. He is on Raw alone. I think Veer's the better one out of the two guys there. I think he's like the more explosive wrestler. But we'll just have to see. Wouldn't mind seeing him and Karrion Kross go at it, because it's just like two people I don't really care about. So who knows though? Veer might surprise me. I have no real I have nothing to expect from him right now, because they kind of didn't do much with him in that group. And if they are breaking him up, I'm guessing they see something in this guy. So hopefully he turns out pretty good. From there, we have Liv Morgan being drafted to Raw. So the Liv Morgan and Carmella rivalry are staying together. That's what I just realized there. That sucks, but okay, fine. Mia Yim on Raw. That makes sense. Her and Keith Lee. So hopefully Mia Yim gets a better shine over here on the Raw roster. Tamina staying on Raw. Tegan Nox getting broken up from Shotzi and is drafted to Raw. Now, here's the thing though. Tegan Nox and Shotzi can technically still compete for the women's titles or women's tag titles, because those titles are cross-brand. So hopefully WWE didn't just break up all their tag teams on accident, and they actually realized, oh yeah, they can be a cross-brand. So I don't know. But then they lose. You know what? Now I'm saying this out loud. If Tegan Nox and Shotzi win the titles, they could really have a good story where they can't lose them, because then they have to break up as a team because they're on different brands. And so then you have like more stakes in every match. Every match has stakes. Give me writing over there, boy. I mean, that writes itself. That's drama in every single match. Is they can't lose this match or else they have to break up. That's fantastic. Yeah, but I mean, if they don't do that, which I really think they won't pick that up, that means that we have no tag teams, because Tamina's drafted to Raw. And if I'm not wrong, let me make sure. Yeah, Natalya is drafted to SmackDown. So they broke up the Brutalizers. They broke up Nox and Shotzi. They didn't bring up any tag teams from SmackDown or from NXT. So they have no challengers for Rhea and Nikki. They really just didn't know what. I mean, they were just throwing anything at the wall with the women's divisions. Anyways, though, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric, and Alexander, two members of the Hurt Business, they stay on Monday Night Raw. Really hope they aren't just going to get buried even further. After Monday, I was really upset with that. The Miz staying on Monday Night Raw. Again, they probably are going to finish up that storyline between him and Morrison, and then who knows from there. SmackDown now. So that was the Raw picks. Those Raw picks. I know that was a lot to sit through, guys. Like I said, they have some really good stories they can tell just off of those draft picks alone. But will they tell him? Probably not. I mean, let's not get our hopes up. But I think that if they even do 1/4 of the good ideas that they could do, I guess I'll be fine with it, you know? Moving on, though, we have the SmackDown draft picks. First pick in the overall draft, first person to be selected, Roman Reigns. Acknowledge him as the number one draft pick, and I will. I acknowledge him. Just feels right. Has to be on SmackDown. I wouldn't have minded seeing him on Raw because that would probably, if they did the same thing they do now with SmackDown, where they have Roman, like the Roman storyline as a through line through every single episode. So you have 2 hours and it has one continuous story. If they did that on Raw for 3 hours, it would make the show a lot easier, but they probably won't. But yeah, Roman on SmackDown, that's fine. This is where things get wonky, and I guess I'm going to talk about it here. Raw Women's Champion Charlotte Flair was drafted to SmackDown. This is fine. I'm fine with them moving the women's champions. It's just that they aren't discussing what this means for the women's divisions. It's like no one is seeing that those champions are not supposed to be there, and they aren't bringing a solution to have the appropriate champions. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like when the New Day and Street Profits switched brands, right? They did the trade-off. That was terrible. But at least it addressed, like, these championships are not on the right brand. They aren't even addressing that here. They aren't talking about how they're going to, unify the titles, crown a new champion. They don't have a plan. And I'm guessing it's because we're going to have that triple threat crown jewel between Becky, Bianca, and Sasha. But Sasha is the only SmackDown superstar in that match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And I know a lot of people are saying that that's like clear as day they're going to have Sasha win, but I disagree. I don't think Sasha's winning that match. And it wouldn't solve the problem anyway, because then you still have Charlotte Flair, who has the Raw Women's Championship on SmackDown, and then you have Sasha Banks with the SmackDown Women's Championship on SmackDown. So you have 2 titles for the women's division on the same brand, and you have none on Raw. So then the problem is even worse. So I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, the most predictable answer, I think, is gonna be Becky 2 belts. She's gonna somehow win the Raw Women's Championship, probably at Survivor Series, and until then, we're gonna get a lot of inter-brand fighting between Charlotte and Becky, which I guess I'm fine with. I'd rather just have a unified women's championship, but then it's like, well, why don't you have one for the men? Which they should too. I think both titles should just be one. It should not be brand specific. Yeah, I mean, this is just weird. It's just they're not addressing the elephant in the room here. I think something needs to happen. Hopefully, it becomes an interesting story and not just let's switch belts. Here you go. No, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I want an interesting story here, and they have the competitors to tell that story. I really hope they follow through with it. But anyways, following that, Drew McIntyre drafted to SmackDown. That's a great pick. Him and Roman can have a great feud. He's gonna lose, but once he loses, he can drop back down into like the IC title picture, elevate whoever's in there. I think there's gonna be plenty for him to do there. New Day drafted to SmackDown, breaking them up once again. Hate to see that, but I do think that SmackDown does need a reliable tag team, other than the Usos, like a face tag team. And the Usos and the New Day being on the same brand, I'll never complain about, because they're going to have great matches that they face each other, which they probably will. Other than that, though, we have Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss. I've shared my thoughts on this pairing on the SmackDown review. Hate it. I don't like this Madcap Moss character. I think there's so much more depth they can tap into with this partnership that they're not going to do, and it kind of seems like they just threw a really bad gimmick at the wall. Going in Raw, I believe either Steve or Larson said that this is what an 80-year-old thinks is funny. Like, this is what they think. And that's what it feels like. It feels like an 80-year-old made this up, because Madcap Moss, I had to look up what Madcap meant. Terrible. But talking about someone who's not terrible, we have Hit Row on SmackDown. I think this is a great move. You got Isaiah Swerve Scott there, Top Dollar, Ashanti, the Adonis, and B-Fab. Ashanti the Adonis is one person. I messed up the pronunciation there, but I mean that they're gonna breathe some life into that division. Whatever division they end up being, I think Isaiah Swerve would be a great challenger for Shinsuke Nakamura. I think he'd be really fun with with Sheamus. It's just gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good time. Hopefully they don't get buried by like promos, because sometimes they'll do that. They'll be like, here's a promo we wrote for you 2 minutes before, and also it's a rap song. So yeah, we wrote this in 2 minutes, and you can really tell that someone else wrote it. You know what I mean? Hopefully they let them be natural, let them have good conversational promos, and then introduce the rap gimmick. Because if they introduce the rap gimmick, like, which I'm sure they will on Friday, I'm sure that they're going to just throw them out there and have them rap. If they do that, the crowd's going to be dead. They need to have these people introduced to them, introduced to the characters of Isaiah and everyone. Like, show us who these people are, and then when they, maybe 2-3 months down the line, have them do a rap. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna work if they just throw them out there with no context. But also Naomi is on SmackDown. That's great. Her and Sonya Deville need to have a match, and I think it's gonna be a good one. Jeff Hardy moved to SmackDown as well. I think this is a good pick here. Solid mid-card guy. He could even have a run against Roman if he does get over with this new ego Willow, probably, or some kind of heel turn. Who knows? Jeff Hardy is very creative. I trust him to do something fun and interesting and make me care. We get Aaliyah, which I haven't seen much of. I've heard that she has not had much experience. So, interesting to see where that goes. One pick that I'm very glad to see, Drew Gulak on SmackDown again. Last time Drew Gulak was on SmackDown, he was teamed up with Daniel Bryan, if you guys remember, where they were kind of one-upping each other, talking about wrestling strategy. I love Drew Gulak. I wouldn't even mind seeing him go back to the PowerPoint presentations, because that's going to get him over. I just hope they have a plan for him, because if they don't have nothing for him, he's out of luck on SmackDown. There's no 24/7 division. So he can end up a jobber, and I really don't want that for him, because he could be the Zack Sabre Jr. of WWE, like, very easily. Anyways, though, we have Mace, as we just discussed. Him and T-Bar were broken up, so Mace is now on SmackDown. I know he's a good talker. I don't necessarily like his in-ring work, but I think he could be made into something if they get rid of this Mace gimmick and give him a new one. Whatever it is, I'll give it an open mind. I think it'll probably be pretty decent, because he is a good talker. One tag team that I'm very glad did not get broken up, Mansoor and Mustafa Ali. They will stay together and are on SmackDown. Great move. I think they're going to have a little bit more, not time to shine, because they've had plenty of time on Raw, but I think they're going to have a little more story development on SmackDown and really develop that team. And honestly, this might be a stretch. I could see them dethroning the Usos. I think they'd be a good story to tell there. Anyways, Toni Storm also drafted to SmackDown. I think she's already on SmackDown, but drafted still on SmackDown. They need to do more with her, because she's fantastic. I don't want to see her do nothing, have these short matches and do nothing. I wouldn't mind if Toni and Sonya Deville, interlaced there, because they both have like a more legit background type of wrestling style. But anyways, SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos, were drafted. They dropped the ball on this completely. As we know, last Friday they set up Paul Heyman needed to get the Usos on SmackDown, or else Roman was going to have them left for dead. And they just had the Usos drafted in the first half hour of SmackDown with no dramatic build. Just a sigh of relief from Heyman. Could have been more. Could have been the through line of the entire episode of trying to get the Usos drafted, and he had until round 6 to get them drafted, and then, whatever. He might... me personally, I would have liked to have saw him get drafted to Raw, and then Paul Heyman have to somehow get them drafted back to SmackDown before Crown Royal, or Crown Jewel, whatever. Before Crown Jewel. I think that would have been a great story to tell. It would give so much more drama, and they just didn't do it. But the Usos on SmackDown is, of course, good. It's ultimately what I wanted. It's just I wanted the build to be better. I think it's the one pick in the entire draft that had the potential to stretch these 2 weeks, Anyways, though, Sasha Banks is on SmackDown. As we've already mentioned, women's division on SmackDown is a mess. Intercontinental Champion King Nakamura with Rick Boogs also drafted to SmackDown. I think that's fine. Rick Boogs is pretty fun. I think he needs to develop more, and I hope he doesn't, I hope they don't do a turn and make him an Intercontinental Champion. I hope they don't hotshot him, essentially. I want to see him really work his way up. Next draft pick was Sheamus. This is a great move. Just another guy just to have there, be a pillar of the Intercontinental Championship division. And you can even have him challenge Roman, because Sheamus as a heel could bring up when he cashed in on Roman back in 2015, 2016. And, even bring back those like Sheamus 316 shirts, whatever. You be creative with it. Think he is a legitimate challenger for Roman's title. He'll, of course, lose, but it'll be a great match, especially the way Sheamus has been working lately. And these two put on a banger at TLC one year. I forget if it was 2016 or 2015. But if you haven't watched that, that's definitely a match to watch. And watch the crowd reaction back then, which I think I want to do a video on about, Roman Reigns' experiment. But especially because that's when I jumped in, was when Roman Reigns was getting booed out the building. So, yeah, interesting match to watch. I think he can do it again. They can have really good matches with all these B-level pay-per-views coming up. He needs to have filler opponents. Shannon Basler, next draft pick. Great pick here. I think she's going to be a lot of fun. Her and Sasha Banks will have a really good match if they ever, allow it to happen. Same with Xia Li. Xia Li getting called up from NXT. I haven't watched too much of her work. I am curious to see where her character is going to be now that it's just her on SmackDown, or if she's bringing that stable with her, and just how much of that stuff they're going to do, because it was like a lot of character work in NXT, which the main roster does not necessarily do, especially in the manner they did it through like animation and not through interviews and promos. So who knows? No matter what, her in-ring work is really solid. And I think she'd be a perfect opponent for Shayna Baszler because of the styles there. But, I have high hopes for her. The Viking Raiders, another great tag team to just bolster out your division with. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. They might even get a tag title run out of this. Who knows? Ricochet, drafted over to SmackDown. Great pick here. Another key piece to that growing IC title division. And honestly, you could have him face Roman. He did face Brock Lesnar at one of the Saudi shows. And you could really have Roman lay into him about how much of a failure he's been on the main roster. Stuff like that. Like really dig into his character and let Ricochet be the underdog and have like a really good match with him. Which we all know that's what he's good at. He's good at having really good matches. So we'll see. I don't think he'll ever do that, but I do see him, at least in the next year, challenging in that IC title field. The Handsome Boys are the next pick. Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza on SmackDown. Really fun team here. They're just getting their legs under them. So hopefully they continue this momentum, continue to have that feud with Mansoor and Mustafa Ali, but they need to talk more. Both of these teams need to talk to each other more. We need to see them in the ring, not just having thrown together matches. They need to be discussing why they don't like each other. Which I think we will see. that. Cesaro staying on SmackDown. Like I said, Cesaro and Sheamus are back together on the same brand. Wouldn't mind seeing them go at it again. Or I don't see the bar getting back together though. Cesaro would need to turn heel for that to happen. Or he would need to convince Sheamus to turn face. Either way, I just don't see it happening. I think they're kind of done with that portion of the career, which is a shame because they are one of the greatest tag teams in WWE history. Don't argue with me. I'm right about that. But yeah, he's a good hand to have. Definitely could intertwine with that IC title division. Kind of surprised he did stay on SmackDown, considering that he faced Roman already. So I kind of thought, well, face Roman, you lost. You got to get off the island. But with that being said, he still has plenty to do. All these new opponents. You got Jeff Hardy, Ricochet, Drew Gulak, all these people that you can really have a lot of good matches with. So hopefully they do something with him. This is my least favorite draft pick of the entire draft here. Which I think is going to be, it's harsh. And I don't think it's that unpopular of an opinion, but I just really don't want it. I didn't want this. Ridge Holland to SmackDown. If you watch my predictions video, you know that my plan for NXT 2.0 was an evacuation. Get every good wrestler out of NXT 2.0. That meant Pete Dunne, Johnny Gargano, Roderick Strong, Kushida, Grizzled Young Veterans, Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch. Anyone else. I don't want these 2.0 guys, especially Ridge Holland. I don't like the character. It's way too gimmicky. And unfortunately, I think he's going to have a home with Corbin and Madcap Moss, which is my least favorite part of the show. So I don't know. I really hope that this changes. Maybe he'll have a character change because, as we all know, there is no through line from NXT to main roster. So maybe they're just going to completely ditch the whole British newspaper boy gimmick. Who knows? Maybe I'll keep an open mind for the most part, but I was disappointed because I wanted a different call-up. I just wanted anyone else. Following that, though, Sami Zayn drafted to SmackDown. I think that's a good fit. He still has plenty to do there. It does split up his feud with Dominic and Mysterio, so we'll see how they're going to wrap that up. Jinder Mahal and Shanky drafted together. Don't know what they're going to do at all. Honestly, if you put the Jinder, Shanky, Ridge Holland, Happy Corbin, and Madcap Moss stuff together, just put it all together. So that way it's like one island of stuff I don't want to watch. So that way gets it all away. They don't pollute the other good stuff on the show. Although I do believe Jinder Mahal has the potential to be interesting. It's tough though. It's tough with Jinder. I don't think he has the best he doesn't leave the best taste in your mouth, especially with that title win. But if you did something interesting and talk about that title win with Roman, have Roman run him down for being a hotshot champion, and then Jinder run him down for saying you did the same thing. I think there's interesting stuff you could do. They're just not going to do it. But yeah, don't know where they're going to end up as of now. Like I said, Natalya and Shotzi were both split up and put here on SmackDown. Natalya was split up from the Brutalizers. Shotzi was split up from Tegan Nox. I think they could still have tag team division because the titles are, cross-brand, but I just don't know if they know that. I don't know if they remember that. So we're going to see what happens there. Overall, 2021 draft really shook things up. It's just we don't have a lot of clarity on some of the biggest shakeups that they made, being the women's division, especially on both the tag and world title pictures. But I think all the men's divisions definitely were elevated in this draft and given a fresh coat of paint. We won't have the effects go into we won't see the effects be utilized until after Crown Jewel, which is fine with me. I actually like this little waiting period. It gives people a chance to freshen out, wrap up loose ends and maybe make their debuts on their respective brands or make their debuts in general because they're call-ups. So don't mind it. I think the next year is going to be very telling as to where WWE's character development is going, because this past year, especially with fans back, they pushed a little bit of a more edgy, realistic character standpoint, but now they made a couple draft picks that I really don't know where they're leaning towards. I mean, Ridge Holland's super charactery, the Mason T-Bar stuff is super charactery, so we'll see how that's going to go, and Karrion Kross as well. But let me know your guys' favorite draft picks. Let me know who you guys think should have been drafted in this year's draft. And my pick of the year though, pick of the draft. Let's do a pick of the draft here tonight. Let's see. I don't know. Pick of the draft. It's gonna be on SmackDown. I think Hit Row is my pick of the draft, to be honest, because I'm really excited for them to actually get in front of fans instead of being on NXT 2.0. And I know that I'm downing on NXT 2.0 a lot, but man, it's just not the place for them. I know that Isaiah is still the NXT North America champion, which I guess he's going to have to drop or vacate. I hope he just vacates it, because I don't want to see him take a pin to Don Wagner or Tony D'Angelo. Hopefully he just vacates it. But yeah, that's my pick of the WWE draft. I really popped for them. I really think they deserve this. They're going to be great if they're given the right opportunity. But anyways, you guys, that's all from me for today. Thank you for joining me in this super long stream. If you're here on the Twitch, make sure to follow the Twitch at twitch.tv/hold for hold. Follow the channel on Twitter and Instagram at hold for hold. And yeah, make sure to like this video. If you got this far and you ain't liking the video, that's kind of rude, to be honest. It's really rude of you. But anyways, you guys, have a good one and goodbye.